Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tech in a Nutshell. Over the years, I've realized something about teaching that no matter where you do it, the workload never gets lighter. Between planning lessons, designing slides, creating quizzes, and keeping everything engaging, it can really start to feel like you are doing three jobs at once. And I'm not just talking about classroom teachers, right? If you're a corporate trainer trying to keep workshops fresh, or an independent instructor designing online courses, and now there's an AI tool that can do all this for you in one place, and it's called Edcafe AI. Now, Edcafe AI is a powerful AI toolkit designed for educators to effortlessly generate and organize high quality instructional and learning content using AI. Edcafe AI is interactive, it's student facing, that supports full teaching cycle from creating and assigning content to tracking progress and feedback. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through how it works, what makes it different, and why I think it's worth your attention. Let's jump in. Now on your browser, you want to type in the Edcafe AI website, which is edcafe.ai, and you press enter. This brings the landing page of this tool. Now, if you're a first-time user, you click on Get Started Now, and then you can sign up with your Google, Microsoft, or email. So in this case, I have an account, so I'll click on Login, and I continue with Google. All right, excellent. Now, when you're signed into the platform, this is the interface. This is what you will see, and I'm going to show you some of the things you can do with this tool. If you click on the Create tab by your left panel, you would see in Edcafe AI, you can create slide deck, teaching resources, lesson plans, chatbots, flashcards, AI images, AI speech, summary notes, written activity, quizzes, YouTube quiz, and assignments graders. So it's like a full toolkit for anything education. So if you are a corporate trainer, if you're in the classroom, you can build content and learning resources for your students that makes this highly engaging, thereby saving you time on preparing for content. Now we're going to look at a few examples here and see how we can create them in a few clicks. Now the first thing we want to do here is, let's assume we want to create a lesson note for a course called Introduction to Data Science, right? Now we want to come to the slide deck, we want to create a presentation. Now in this place, you can either put in the topic that you want to create for, or the text if you have your materials, your draft text of your content, or a web page if you have a URL to a link online. You can post the web page link here, and you also have a PDF or a PowerPoint that you want to use, or images. You can also upload them here. In this case, I'm going to input just the topic name that I want to generate the slide deck for, and I'll type in Introduction to Data Science. Now below you have the option to give in additional instructions. For example, what is the audience level, what kind of activities do you want? So this makes it really personalized. So in this case, I want to say this is for beginners who have no idea on what data science is all about. Okay, here I can input number of slides below 10, 15, 21 to 30 slides. Now, most of the other online tools do not give you the option of selecting the slide numbers, but in this case, we're able to select the number of slides that we want. So in my case here, I'm going to put below 10. The output language, which is a very good feature, is you can select the output language that you want this to be generated in. In this case, it's default English, but if you are in a different country, you can click on it and click on any of these languages, and you get the content in this language, making it very, very dynamic and robust to support different countries. Okay, now you select the theme of your presentation. We have some templates here. You can select anyone that meets your taste, and then when you're done, click on Generate Slide. Now Edcafe AI is going to build you PowerPoint slides that you can use for your teaching immediately, both the images, the text, and everything. So you can see this here. It has created our slides for us: Introduction to Data Science, Understand the Basics for Beginners. Amazing, beautiful stuff. Now, once the slides has been completed, you have the option to either edit what you have here, or just save it as it is. So this gives teachers the flexibility to control what kind of output is generated. And one thing I like about Edcafe AI is it has a folder system where you can save everything you are generating in a folder. Now let's assume I'm okay with what I see here. You can see the images with diagrams. You click on save at the top. Now you have a folder where you can save this into. Click on the select folder and add a folder. So I put my folder name as data science, and the folder location is my library. Okay, I can choose the color of the folder. Now this is a very useful feature if you are a teacher or an instructor that generates different kinds of content for different kind of audience. You can take advantage of Edcafe's AI folder system to save your files in ways that you can see them. So I select the folder and I click on create folder. Now I give the file a name, so I say introduction to data science slides. Right now, before you hit save, this content visibility section is very important. Now if you leave it as public, it means it's going to be visible in Edcafe's public library. Now if you are giving a private lecture and you don't want your materials to be public, you can click on private. This is very important. Hit private. This will now secure your materials to only those that you want to share, and you are the one that will determine who to share it to. Now hit save. Now if you go back home and go to your library, you can see the folder that has been created for us with data science. Click on it and you'll see your slides here, and you're able to click and edit it. All right, and the other beautiful thing about this tool is you can export your slides into your laptop. Let's say you're having it in a different tool, you can export and use it in your Microsoft PowerPoint. Now another function here I'd like to mention is the assign tool. The assign tool is useful when you're trying to present the slide to a number of students, right? So click on assign. You can either share this QR code, so Edcafe AI would generate a QR code that you can use, or click on copy the link, right? And now if I open a new tab and I paste that link here, you would see the slide deck has opened for students to view in their own PC. Now this is a good way to show to share materials with your students in real time. Now they're able to just go through the slides as the case would be, and you can then move on to other things. Now the second feature I would like to speak about here is teaching resources. So click on teaching resources. Here you are able to build learning resources and materials for your audience, for your students. Now in this case, again, it asks you what topic are you teaching, and then I put in introduction to data science. Right now, what kind of resource types? You select what kind of resource types you want. Do you want articles, slide decks, videos, or worksheets? So in my case, let's assume I don't want worksheets, I just want slide decks and video. I don't even want slide decks, I want videos and articles. You put in all the title here and click on find teaching resources. Edcafe AI is going to generate high value videos that you can share with your students as extra resources for their learning. So you can see this here, it's showing us some videos that we can now share to our students. And if you don't like what you see, you can always delete it and ask it to find more. You click the find more button and to generate more resources for you. This is very useful if you are giving your students more resources to work with. All right, so you can see it even gives us up-to-date content as at yesterday, and then you can click on this video and view it. So you can see this is a really powerful tool in curating and sharing content to your students. Now when you're done with the content you see here, you can click on save, and again you put in a name. So we can call this data science resources, and then you select the folder where you want to save it. Now I'll save it under my data science, and again change content visibility to private, and then hit save. Now, another feature that I'd like to speak about here is Edcafe AI's chatbot feature. And this is very useful if you're trying to build the system whereby students can reach you when you're not present. For example, students have questions about a particular topic that you gave in class on your lecture. You can create a chatbot that answers students based on the content and learning materials you have provided in the chatbot. Now let's see how to create that. So click on chatbot, and then you're going to describe what do you want the chatbot to do. Now in this case, you can put in the thoughts. Let's say I want the chatbot to answer students' question on introduction to data science. Now I click on create chatbot. You can see this would create a foundational structure for you to either edit or use as it is. Now what you see here is the chatbot instruction. This tells the chatbot how to reply to students that might have questions. Now it has given us, Edcafe AI has given us some starter instructions. For example, it says you're a friendly and knowledgeable data science tutor. Your role is to help students understand the fundamentals of introduction to data science by explaining key concepts and all that. So you can see it gives us a guide, an instructional guide that guides the AI chatbot how to respond to students. You can add more context if you want, but I like mine the way it is. Now capabilities is where you determine what kind of features will this chatbot have. Right, so in this case, do you want to allow file uploads? Do you want to enable voice messages where students send the voice message to the chatbot? Do you want to enable whiteboard? So you can see students here can now attach a whiteboard drawing to their messages. Or do you want to enable text editor to allow students use text editor to create text? For example, if you're writing code, this is very good. Enabling code editor. So you can determine what features you want. And then for the knowledge, you can then add what kind of materials would this chatbot reply from. Now, if you create a chatbot, you don't want it to speak on just generic things. You may have your own learning resources that you want it to speak from. Click on the add knowledge button, and you can either upload files, add web page, or add text notes. So the text note I'll add here is introduction, and I can say the text here is data science is useful to manage data, for example, right? And I click save. And you can also add more knowledge. If you have more PDFs or materials that you want the chatbot to reply from, you can either upload web pages, text notes, and all that. Okay, so I click on so the language again. If the chatbot is going to be speaking with a voice, you can select from the library that Edcafe AI has provided to us to select what kind of voice you want your chatbot to reply with. So in this case, I'm comfortable with Stacy as the voice, and I hit save. Again, you save this chatbot into a folder. So I call this introduction to data science chatbot, and I'll save this in my data science folder. Again, turn public to private and click save. This will save your chatbot into the data science folder. Now, to share your chatbot to students, all you need to do here is click on assign, and you'll be able to copy the link or share the QR code generated on your interface. Now let's click on copy link. You can see we have a limit of 1000 responses. Okay, now let's share this chatbot to someone. Let's say I paste this here and I click enter. When a student opens this link, this is what they would see on the chatbot. Now they enter their name and they click on start chat. Now you can see this is what they would see, in the introduction. Hello, I'm here to explore the exciting world of data science. Where they have questions about concepts, methods, and tools, just ask. And here you can talk on the voice for you to speak to students. This is very useful for accessibility, right? If you have students that have visual impairments. This is very useful because they can listen to what the tool is providing. Now I can send my message and say, what is data science about? I missed the first lecture. We can see the chatbot is replying to students in real time what data science is about, and it's giving them everything and explanation to it. And now students can interact with this chatbot as if they were interacting with you. Now on the admin section, you can come to the view chats here and see what students are chatting with your chatbot. So if I click on this first one, you can see my chat has already been stored here. I can click on it and see the interaction between students and the chatbot that was created. This is very, very brilliant. Okay, and then you can delete all chat sessions or download it to your system if you want. Now this is very powerful because here you can monitor what kind of interactions your students are having, or let's say you want to review the interactions that happen and come back to answer students in real time. You can click on the messages and see what questions they had and then answer them in class. Now let's assume you want to limit or stop students from interacting with that chatbot. You can come to this assign button here and click on this toggle button to turn off the chatbot from working. So you can see it says status not accepting chats. Now if I refresh this chat, or before I even refresh, you can see this chatbot is currently not accepting responses because I've turned it off. And this is very powerful if you want to provide limits to how students interact with your chatbot. Excellent. Now let's go to the next feature here. Let's assume we want to create quizzes, which I think is very important in learning. You want to create a knowledge check to see how students are doing in the class. Click on quiz, and now again you can either enter a topic, the text, the web page, or file where you want the quiz to generate from. So in my case, I go again with the topic. I say introduction to data science for beginners. Okay, now what kind of question format is it? Is it multiple choice, short answer, or mixed? I leave it as multiple choice. How many questions should it create for students? Let's say I want 5. Okay, and now I want to provide additional instructions to guide how the questions will be formatted. Now in this case, I want to say it should be easy for students to answer, right? For example, and now what are the students' level? Again, I can say if this is for absolute beginners. These are all optional, but this gives the AI a way to understand what to do in terms of generation. And I click on generate quiz. This is going to generate your quiz for you that you can now share to students. You can see here you are able to change the question. If you don't like the question, it has generated for you. Or you click on the 3 dots here, you can delete question or regenerate options and explanation. You can see, it has also selected the right answer for us to understand what is the answer and the explanation of why that's the correct answer. Okay, you can see you go through all the questions to be sure this is what you like, and when you're done, and you can add more questions at the bottom. You can click on this question button to generate more questions. Now when you're done with it, you always hit save. Again, you give it a file name. So I say introduction to data science, and the folder would be data science, and the visibility will be set to private. Now you hit save. Now this has been saved for us. Now you can then assign, for this quiz to go live, you can assign it to students. And how do you do that? You click on the assign button and copy link like we did the previous time, and then you can then share this link to students. You can see this loads up the quiz page, and you can enter their name and play quiz, and then they can answer the questions that in front of them. I'm going to answer randomly and then submit answers. Now the AI is going to grade the quiz for students and give them a feedback, which is very, very useful in learning today. So you can see good effort Onyi. You demonstrated a solid understanding by correctly answering one of the questions about data science project. However, there are several areas where you can improve. and you can see it gives the students the mark in real time and shows them what they failed and what they got correctly with an explanation. This is very brilliant if you're trying to create assessments for students. Now on my own end, as an admin, as an instructor, I can come here and show responses, and I can see how many students have taken the quiz, the average score, and the median time it was taken. This is very useful if you want to calculate how long students spend in your quizzes. And you can also check out the participants and see their grades in person, and then you can also download the reports to an Excel sheet, and then you can see this here. This is very useful in creating quizzes assessment that you can then use for your own analysis, right? Excellent. So you can see that with Edcafe AI, it is very robust and it has everything an instructor, a teacher would need to improve education outcomes, from learning materials to creating quizzes to creating, lesson plans and PowerPoint presentations. And now on your homepage, you can see the various things that have been created recently. Today, this is what has been created, and yesterday, this is all the things I created. Now, if you go back to your library, you can see the folder structures of things, right? So I have my data science here, the folder that I created, and I can see all the things that I created: the quiz, the chatbot, the slide deck, and the teaching resources. Now here you can decide to click on any one and then edit it as you will. Now, if you are someone who has multiple subjects that you're preparing learning resources for, you can easily come to my library and then create the folders first of all, so that when you're creating content, you can easily see the folder that you're creating into. So I can name mine, for example, mathematics. I click on the color I want and click create folder. You can see creating the folder here for us. And I create another folder and say introduction to artificial intelligence. And I click on create folder. Now this creates our folders for us. Now if you click into any of the folders, you can then create your materials in that folder. And this is another approach if you want to save your AI content directly into that folder. Now you can select what you want to create here. Let's say lesson plan. You put a topic, introduction to AI, and then you give the instructions, and then you can also search Google for lesson resources and then click on generate lesson plan. This will create the lesson plan inside that folder that we created, introduction to AI. So you can see we have lesson plans that has been created for us that we can then use for our learning. You can click on save, and then you can give it a name. So you can say lesson plan AI, and you can see by default it has selected the introduction to artificial intelligence because we are doing this inside the folder. And then you can change the content visibility to private and then hit save. Excellent. Now the good thing about Edcafe AI is they have a very generous free plan that you can take advantage to test how this thing works. And if you're someone who wants to do more with it, they have some really robust and affordable premium, pro and premium features, subscriptions that you can take advantage of to use. Thank you so much guys for watching, and as always, keep creating, keep teaching, and I'll see you in the next one.